In the American Southwest, few measurements matter more than the shoreline markings on Lake Mead. What begins as snowmelt in the Rockies eventually finds its way here, where every measurement tells us whether we're winning or losing the battle to sustain life in the desert. As of October 1st, 2025, at 9 a.m., Lake Mead stands at 1,057.33 feet above mean sea level. To put that in perspective, the reservoir sits 171.67 feet shy of its maximum capacity at 1,229 feet. That's like filling a swimming pool only halfway and calling it a day. Except this particular pool serves 25 million people. Something interesting happened last month. After bottoming out near 1,056.7 feet around September 23rd, the lake began climbing. Half a foot might not turn heads in normal conversation. But when you're talking about a reservoir that stretches across 247 square miles, that's billions of gallons making a comeback. The question on everyone's mind: is this a blip or a trend? Rewind to 2020, and Lake Mead was holding steady around 1,090 feet. Not great, but manageable. Then came the slide. By 2022, we watched the water level crash through psychological barriers, dipping below 1,050 feet and exposing boat ramps, marinas, and unfortunately, things that were meant to stay hidden. This year tells a different story. The 2025 waterline has maintained relative stability, hovering between 1,060 and 1,065 feet through spring and early summer. Unlike the freefall of previous years, we're seeing something that resembles equilibrium, fragile, but present. Behind every foot of elevation lies a complex equation. The Hoover Dam doesn't just hold back water. It juggles competing demands from 7 states, generates electricity for hundreds of thousands, and tries to honor century-old water rights agreements that were written when the Colorado River flowed far more generously. When water levels drop, hydroelectric turbines lose efficiency. Agricultural allocations get cut. Cities implement conservation measures. The 1,090-foot mark isn't just a number, it's a threshold that determines whether the system operates smoothly or struggles under strain. The recent uptick suggests that, at least temporarily, more water flowed in than out. Perhaps upstream releases increased. Maybe cooler weather reduced evaporation. The exact mix of factors takes time to analyze, but the direction of the arrow matters. We're now looking at elevation levels that mirror early summer rather than the typical late-year decliners. That's unusual. And unusual can be good news when you've grown accustomed to bad. Before we break out the champagne, let's be clear. Lake Mead remains in a deficit that would take years of above-average conditions to reverse. We're still talking about a reservoir that has lost nearly 40 feet since 2020. And more than 170 feet below full capacity. The bathtub ring around the lake, that white band of mineral deposits, marking where the water used to be, tells the real story. It's visible from space and serves as a constant reminder of how dramatically things have changed. As we move into late fall, water managers will be watching closely. The winter pool target of 1,075 feet may seem modest, but reaching it would represent genuine progress. Every measurement between now and then carries weight. The Southwest's water crisis won't be solved by a good month or even a good year. But after years of watching the line drop, there's something meaningful about seeing it climb, even incrementally. Lake Mead is just a reservoir. It is a report card on how well we're readapting to a drier climate. It reflects snowpack in the Rockies, conservation efforts in Las Vegas, agricultural decisions in Arizona, and climate patterns that span the entire western half of North America. Today's reading of 1,057.33 feet sits in that uncomfortable middle ground, better than the worst we've seen, but nowhere near where we need to be. It's a number that allows for cautious optimism, while demanding continued vigilance. The water will keep flowing, the measurements will keep coming, and somewhere in those incremental changes lies the story of whether the West can sustain its future. For now, the trend points upward. Whether it stays that way is the only question that matters.